Progressivism was a widespread, many-sided reform effort. Progressives focused on bettering the lives of the many. There were 3 U.S. presidents during the Progressive era, and today we'll focus on the last of them, Woodrow Wilson. He was the 28th U.S. president, elected in 1913, holding office for 8 years until 1921. He was the first Southerner to win the presidency since the 1850s. Wilson led the United States into World War I, claiming that it was necessary to, quote, make the world safe for democracy.
Wilson advocated he would benefit small businesses and reduce the power of corporate wealth in his campaign. He also suggested all monopolies were bad. The difference between new freedom and new nationalism became a key issue of Woodrow Wilson's campaign. New Freedom was Woodrow Wilson's program to place government controls on corporations in order to benefit small businesses, and New Nationalism was a program created by Roosevelt to restore the government's trust-breaking power. Wilson also argued that if big businesses were deprived of advantages such as protective tariffs, the government's role could be minimal in a market.
Wilson created the New Freedom policy, which offered a progressive vision calling for the government to break up monopolies, curb corporate power in politics, increase economic competition, and restore a vibrant economy where small businesses could thrive. He also convinced Congress to pass the Federal Trade Commission. This is where members of the group, who were named by the president, were to monitor business practices that might lead to monopolies. They were also in charge of looking out for false advertising or dishonest labeling. He pushed Congress to pass the Federal Reserve Act, which placed commercial banks under the control of a Federal Reserve Board that set up regional banks to hold funds from those banks. This system is still in place today. The Clayton Antitrust Act was passed to strengthen earlier antitrust laws by spelling out those activities in which businesses could not engage. Wilson also pushed the Underwood Act, which lowered tariffs from 40% to 27%.
Woodrow Wilson had many long-lasting effects on the country. He made the federal oversight of the nation's economy much more organized and cohesive, and the Federal Reserve Act that he created, which allowed the Federal Reserve to create a national currency and monetary system that would respond to the ups and downs of the economy, is still in place today. However, his run for office also had some negative impacts. For example, his desire to promote democracy in Latin America led to the invasion of Haiti and the Dominican Republic. He also pushed back the civil rights movement, supporting segregation and causing racism to take over the Capitol. Wilson gave members of his cabinet permission to segregate their departments, and he also hosted a private screening of the incredibly racist film, Birth of a Nation. After the screening, he stated that it was like writing history with lightning. My only regret is that it is also terribly true. This was widely controversial, considering that the movie was an extremely inaccurate telling of the Reconstruction era that depicted African Americans in the North as the aggressors and glorified the KKK.
Roosevelt and Wilson often clashed surrounding the presidential election and further on. Roosevelt and Wilson often had different views regarding politics and war, leading to many disagreements. Wilson did not always agree with organized labor. In 1913, coal miners demanded higher wages and safer working conditions. When the coal companies refused, they walked off the job, causing the workers to be evicted from company towns. The strike continued through the winter until April 20, 1914, when Wilson sent National Guards to restore the order and break up the strike. The National Guards opened fire on the tents, causing 26 fatalities.
Fun facts!
Woodrow Wilson was buried at the National Cathedral in Washington, D.C. Woodrow Wilson made the first live national radio broadcast.
Woodrow Wilson had dyslexia.
He won the Nobel Peace Prize in 1919.
Woodrow Wilson also was the only president who earned a Ph.D. So, in conclusion, Woodrow Wilson, one of the 3 progressive presidents, promoted many progressive ideas throughout his presidency and made many reforms that are still in place today.